Wilden dominated the first round of the 1992 series opener, a convincing win in most sport. He was the fastest qualifier. Took only 4 laps to get from 6th to the lead. But one driver who was not beaten by Kenny was Peter Cohen. Cohen missed the first Eastern race, but has returned for round 2 in Montreal. He's driving the car Kenny drove and smashed last year. The question is, can Kenny win a game, or will local hero Peter Cohen have the last lap? The Players Limited GM Motorsports Series on TSN.
Welcome to Le Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on Ile Notre-Dame in Montreal. Hello everyone, I'm Pierre Houd. There is a big crowd today to see the action of these drivers that are going to meet on the round 2 of this 1992 season of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series. And for more on today's race, here is Jim Paulson and Pat Gonzalez. Gentlemen?
Jim, I think Kenny Wilden surprised a lot of people with the way he dominated that opening round at Mosport.
Richard Spinard has been the dominant factor there in the past, Pat. He won all 3 races last year. Suddenly, the first event this year, Richard Spinard did not come on as strong as we thought he would. Kenny Wilden wins the first race. Mind you now, Kenny is running this new season with the new car. He's got new sponsorship. Most importantly, I guess, Pat, that new attitude. And boy, that attitude has certainly stepped to the fore. He qualified beautifully at Mosport. He's running well here, won here last year. The man is ready. I think he's got the rest of the field worried, Pat.
And worried they should be, Jim, because Kenny Wilden again captured the Sunoco Fast Qualifier Award. He comes into today's event as the points leader and, of course, won this race a year ago.
They say racing is about 70% mental. I think there's no question that Kenny has got it happening in his favor. He's after them today. The rest of the drivers have got a problem.
Well, this is a very difficult racetrack here at Montreal, very demanding on the equipment, and we also have a very large field of drivers. Now let's take a look at the starting grid.
Here's the man who finished 20th in that first event, the opener at Mosport, rookie Paul Mackey, ready for Montreal.
Another rookie fills the next spot on the starting grid. Shane Grossman, the 20-year-old, will be one of the contenders for Rookie of the Year.
His second year in the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series, Ron Shell starts next.
Starting 20th on the grid, Sean Grossman, coming out of karting. He's now in his 3rd year in the series.
Steve Winch makes his first appearance for 1992, his 2nd year of race competition for Bell.
Number 81, Neil Jameson, looking to improve on his 21st finish at Mosport.
Out of Western Canada, Barry Ihaxi makes an appearance. Finished 8th overall last year.
Another one of our leading rookie contenders, Craig Priddle. A lot of open wheel experience. He was 11th at our opener at Mosport Park.
This man, Wade Lee for SGP, had a great run in the opener of Mosport. He's here to get a little more time in the car at Montreal.
Paul Duckworth started on the front row at Mosport and finished 9th. He'll be looking to improve on that here in Montreal.
Finally making an appearance, Jacques Liliev, the reigning 1991 Rookie of the Year, loves this track.
Another one of the top drivers from Quebec, Normand Boyer, was 10th at Mosport Park. He'll be looking for another top 10 finish here in Montreal.
Our broadcasting cohort out of Quebec, he's filling a few roles this weekend, including this one, Didier Scronin.
Joe Lapsovich Jr. will be doing most of his driving in the Western Series, but he will start along with his brother Jeff here in Montreal.
And here's Jeff, and what a great start to this season, ending up 5th overall in that first event at Mosport.
Tony Morris heads part of the Western Motomaster team. He'll be looking for a top 10 finish.
And the second of 4 Motomaster entries is another young man that's excited about this ride this year, John Cadman Jr.
The man who dominated the opener at Mosport and again was fastest qualifier here in Montreal, taking the Sunoco Fast Qualifier Award, Kenny Wilden. He's $500 richer for his efforts.
Frank Allers getting back to the Motormaster squad, second fastest here, loves Atlantic racing as well.
Rob Fellows, the defending Eastern champion, had a good run at Mosport. He'll be looking for his first win here in Montreal.
Here's Terry Betts. Rob Fellows' teammate did not have a good run at Mosport. He'll look to do much better this weekend.
Hometown driver Peter Cohen has run well here at Le Circuit Gilles Villeneuve before. He'll be looking for his first win in his first start of the year.
And King Richard is back in Montreal. Richard Spernard, what will his starting strategy be?
For the start, you would like to start first, as I will. But, you know, honestly, we were trying to qualify better than that. We were looking for points and some money. But we end up having the best position to start the race. Let's put it this way. I'd rather win the race and qualify first, but yesterday when I qualified, I would have rather to qualify first to make sure everything was working well.
The Players Limited GM Motorsports Series is brought to you by GM Motorsports and Players Limited. Welcome back to TSN's coverage of round 2 of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series. Pat Gonzalez along with Jim Paulson for all the action. Let's have a look at our Series East point standings after race number 1 in Mosport. A reminder before our start here in Montreal. Kenny Wilden on top with 119 points. Johnny Cadman second, 102 points. Then Richard Spernard at 95. Rob Fellows with 90. Jeff Lapsevich, a surprise, 80 points off that first event. Let's have a look at this course as the drivers get set to compete, Pat.
Cars being weaved back and forth on the racetrack, trying to get some heat into those Goodyear Eagle tires. Here is Gilles Villeneuve Circuit, 4.39 kilometers off the start. The drivers will go slightly to the right as the straightaway bends and then go sharp left. Very important off the start for all of these drivers to avoid any kind of contact because it's very tight through there. Out of that far west end hairpin, they accelerate up onto a short straightaway section before hitting the first of the chicanes. Some of these you go right and left, as you do in this first one at the west end of the circuit, then accelerate up onto a short straightaway section headed for the first of the left-right combinations as the drivers will have to brake very hard. It's a sharp left-hand turn, then to the right to get onto the longest straightaway section at the north end of Ile Notre Dame. Cars will be running up over 100 miles an hour, and then the driver will really have to brake hard down through the gearbox as they come under the first of the crossover bridges, and then they go sharp, hard to the right, then left, and now move on to another one of the straightaway sections. It'll take them down to the far east end of the circuit, and a very, very hard braking hairpin turn. Drivers here again probably up over 100 miles an hour. And now as they come down to that far east end hairpin, Jim, this is where we'll see a lot of passing. And already it seems like a lengthy track, doesn't it, Pat? All the mobs are gathered down here at a very tight hairpin. It is a sharp right. You want to get out of this as quickly as you possibly can. Again, you'll be using a lot of brake activity through that area, but now you're trying to get it back up to full speed. It's a little bend off to the right one more time. Then you'll find under the Players Bridge, a little to the left again, almost a dog leg. Then it's a good, nice, swift straightaway. And then what you're coming up on as you get back to that main front straight area is the one main revision on the course, really for the Formula One crowd. And it's a little different diversion into that front straight, and the gang are handling it well so far. Here they come. We should be ready for a start, Pat. The cars making their way through that final chicane and onto the pit straightaway. All eyes focused now on the flagger stand, looking for the green flag. Kenny Wilden pulling out of line. and now he'll tuck back in, and there's the green flag. We're racing in Montreal. Side by side, Richard Spenard in the black Motormaster Camaro to the outside. The hometown favorite, Peter Cohen, in that white number 99 car. They're still running wheel to wheel as they come through the right-hander, and Jim, there goes.
Yeah, that's Rob Fellows who's gone astray. He got a little tap, I think, from Kenny Wilden, who looked very enthusiastic on this start, Pat. And as a result, Rob went into Terry Betts, and now it's Cohen out in front, and the others wrestling behind him.
There goes Kenny Wilden on the inside, right up onto the curbing. Wilden will hold on to fourth. Cadman right behind him, I believe, in the fifth place spot, but it's 99. Peter Cohen in the white Camaro leading. Spenard 42 in second. Terry Betts running in the third place spot. Then the 17 car of Kenny Wilden. And Wilden just about ran off the racetrack there. He was right up on the curbing. The rest of the cars coming through single file. But here's your leader, Peter Cohen. Wilden now will pull up alongside of Betts.
Kenny Wilden looks so, in fact, overly aggressive off the start of this event, and now Kenny seems to have settled down a little bit. He's focusing more. Bang! He's in there in third spot ahead of Terry Betts.
Great late-breaking move by Kenny Wilden to get around Terry Betts as they went through that right-left chicane. Now they move on to this long straightaway section, headed to the far east end hairpin. There's Cadman 71 holding on to the fifth place position. Spenard trying to close up on Cohen. A little bit of smoke off the tires. There's Wilden in third, followed by Betts, and there's Cadman number 71 running in the fifth place position. But the drivers still tightly bunched here as they work this opening lap. It's still Peter Cohen, your leader.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we sorted out whether we really have a driver's line around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Offering thoughts on that, Frank Allard.
For me, the most challenging part of the Montreal circuit is the chicane, the very tight chicane before the pit straight. You want to brake late in there. It's really tempting to go in there too fast, and if you get in the gravel there, you're probably not going to come out.
Interesting in-car shot there, in fact, Pat, from the view of Richard Spenard, and look at the dice he's got going. Richard makes his move.
Richard Spenard on the pit straightaway, looking for a way around the 99 car of Peter Cohen. Spenard looks to the inside as they go through turn one, but Cohen will hold him up. Very, very close racing up front. Peter Cohen leading Richard Spenard, and Spenard about a car length back as they work their way out of the west end hairpin. Running in third is Kenny Wilden, and Wilden now is closed right up on both Cohen and Spenard at the moment. It is a three-driver race up front, just a little bit of a gap back to fourth, and Peter Cohen right up on the speed curve, and he just about lost the lead, and that is going to bring Wilden a little bit closer. Here's Richard Spenard. He'll take the lead, and Wilden goes through on the inside. That one little miscue, Jim, has cost Peter Cohen 2 spots.
Okay, let's get a little replay on exactly what happened here, Pat. We're getting the view one more time as we scream in on Spenard. No, can't quite do anything there. Spenard gets it up on the curbing a little bit, and this is exciting. And the in-car, amazing. Again, equally exciting to look at this from outside. The spectators are having a ball here, Pat.
Richard Spenard running at the front, but he knows Kenny Wilden is right there, and Wilden again closing very good under braking, and there's a change up into fourth, 71. John Cadman Jr. has moved his Motormaster Camaro around Terry Betts. So it's 42, Spenard leading, 17, Wilden in second, 99 Cohen is third. The new fourth place driver is 71, John Cadman Jr., and Terry Betts being pushed all the way back into that fifth place position. Again, we see the late braking at the end of that straightaway going into the hairpin.
Well, the impression right here is that these front runners are flying. What's interesting is that they are still so beautifully bunched up here in Montreal. I mean, this is a true test. Oh, look at this. Mary Axie, number 33, one of the Western entries, momentarily out of the fray, Pat.
Well, it looks like Barry got into that hairpin too hot, spun the car around, but it looks like he'll continue. Here comes that front group going through. 12, Frank Allers, followed by Lapsovich, and then Rob Fellows all the way back in the 8th place position. That a result of that miscue off the start. The car's back on the start-finish straightaway. 42, Spenard, your leader. Right behind him, Kenny Wilden in that red Pringle Slick 50 Camaro. Then Cohen running third. There you see the rest of the cars coming through, and it's still pretty much single file as they go through. Rob Fellows, and then just in back, that is Joe Lapsovich Jr. as he trails the end of this large group that runs up front.
I tell you, this front-running crowd have been very impressive. Oh, look at this. Spinard. I would say that's a little rare to see Richard get that high up in the curbing. It appears to me maybe the Cohen line from earlier was etched in Richard's mind.
Richard Spinard still running out in front, and now we ride along with his teammate John Cadman Jr. in the Motormaster Camaro. Cadman in that fourth place position and looking for third, late braking into the hairpin, and now here's the battle for fifth. Oh, Frank Allers right off the racetrack, and number 2, Terry Betts, will hold on to fifth. 32, Jeff Lapsovich moving up into sixth. Allers getting shuffled to seventh, and here comes Rob Fellows in the 8th place position, just in back, Joe Lapsovich Jr. Richard Spinard, your race leader, into the hairpin. Wilden in second. Cohen in the white car running third. Then it is Cadman Jr. Look at this fight for fifth. Terry Betts holding on. Rob Fellows has moved up into the 6th place position. Jeff Lapsovich in the red car there is running in the 7th. Then number 12, Frank Allers in 8th. And then Joe Lapsovich Jr. in the 9th place spot. This is a war, Jim, going on for this 5th place position.
It's really a war between teammates too, Pat, which is kind of interesting to watch because you got Terry Betts still ahead of our reigning champion. And now, here comes the big pass move up front. I think Kenny Wilden's got it. Look at the car shutter. He's out there off the course, and certainly Spinard is off.
Richard going sideways, but it was Wilden with the late braking move into that chicane, and now we ride along with the front runners through that last chicane. Definitely some contact between Spinard and Wilden. Richard does get it back onto the racetrack. Meanwhile, Peter Cohen moves around Kenny Wilden to take the lead. Wilden right with him now. Cadman, number 71, is running in third, and here comes Kenny Wilden. He'll pull up alongside of Peter Cohen, and Wilden will retake the lead. Kenny Wilden with a big move coming out of that turn, and now has moved ahead of Peter Cohen. Cadman in the black Motormaster Camaro running in third, and back up onto that curbing. Spinard also running what'll be the high line through that turn. He runs in fourth, and then it is the 2 Sunoco Ultra 94 cars, and here comes Spinard and Cadman. They're all over Cohen, number 99, and this has been a wild opening few laps here at Montreal.
It is so intriguing to watch all this action. It's really fights between teammates, and all these fights between the teams are happening up front. Kenny Wilden, I think now, is simply going to try to break away from it all and kind of make it history. Peter Cohen is doing what he can to hang on to Kenny, but he's got some team wars coming up behind him, Pat.
Kenny Wilden has been driving very aggressively, really hard on the brakes. He just about took Spinard and himself out in that move going into that last chicane before the start-finish straightaway, but both drivers continue up here in the lead pack.
Now, 17, Kenny Wilden. Oh, he disappeared fast. And we get right back to these team wars that are happening. Richard Spinard doing everything he can now to try to regain some of that ground he lost in the final corner heading into the straight. But I'll tell you, his teammate Johnny Cadman Jr. is not going to let him by easily. And Cohen doing everything he can to try to hang on to our race leader in Kenny Wilden. Now it looks like Rob Fellows, once he's by Terry Betts, the number 1 car, seems to be running away from his teammate. In fact, Terry dropping off rather dramatically.
Well, Rob had that slight miscue off the start, but has done a good job of getting back up in this lead group. There's Wilden, your leader. Cohen, followed by Cadman, Spinard, then Rob Fellows. Good drive here as well for Jeff Lapsovich in that red number 32, Mr. Luke Camaro. He runs in the 6th place position.
In car again with Richard Spinard. Let's see what Richard has planned. It looks like this particular pass on his teammate may work. Is John Cadman going to fight back? Yes, he does. There's Cadman back one more time.
Spinard looking to drive around the outside of Cadman, who'd have nothing to do with it.
Oh.
The 2 teammates running very close together. And Jim, we saw this kind of driving between Spinard and Cadman at the opener at Mosport. Certainly no team tactics here, at least evident on the racetrack right now. And that has allowed Rob Fellows to close on the 2 Motormaster teammates.
Again, up in the curbing goes Cohen, and I would say, what do you think for the Motormaster teammates? Maybe gentle hugging, that wouldn't be bumping, would it, Pat?
Close race for that 3rd place position, with Cadman holding 3rd at the moment. Spinard is right there along with Rob Fellows. Meanwhile, Kenny Wilden is starting to open up some ground. There's the red car of Lapsovich, and then Allers, and then Joe Lapsovich Jr. in the yellow car, running back in about the 8th place position.
Now Richard Spinard has a go at his teammate. Is he going to make it by John Cadman Jr.? I tell you, he's been elbowing his way. I get a feeling that in car, Richard is a little upset, a little perturbed. Maybe the temper is up right now.
While Richard moving up into the 3rd place position, here is Rob Fellows closing on the 71 car of John Cadman Jr., but this man continues to lead it. Kenny Wilden running out in front as he comes through the far east end hairpin, about 7-8 car lengths up on Peter Cohen, and then we've got some very close racing all the way through the top 10.
After 6 laps, Kenny Wilden the race leader, then it's Peter Cohen, John Cadman Jr., Spinard. Fellows will be back. Welcome back to TSN's coverage of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series Round 2 from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Kenny Wilden, the race leader.
Kenny Wilden dominated the opener at Mosport, and right now he's trying to dominate the 2nd round here in Montreal. We're looking at the battle now for the 4th place position between 71, John Cadman Jr., and number 1, Rob Fellows. There is that race just ahead of that 4th place battle. Spinard, number 42, and Cadman and Fellows about half a car length apart as they race for that 4th place position. Wilden going through 99, Cohen, then Spinard, and now comes that race for 4th. There is Kenny Wilden. He was very aggressive in the early going, time and time again, making those passes under braking, going into the various chicanes here on the circuit. 32, Jeff Lapsovich holding out of the 6th place position. Frank Aller still 7th. Joe Lapsovich Jr. running at the tail end of this group in the 8th place position. But Kenny Wilden, Jim, turning in another superb drive. Okay, we noticed Cohen slam the brakes on there. You don't want to overwork these brakes too much when you see that tire smoke drop up. But here is the best ice with Rob Fellows trying to fight his way back against John Cadman Jr. Front-running 3 drivers with a little bit of space on the racetrack, but that race for 4th really heating up now between Cadman and Fellows. They're into the east end hairpin. Wilden by about 7 or 8 car lengths. Here comes Fellows down to the inside of Cadman. Cadman will hold them off as the 2 drivers just about touched going into that hairpin. Rob Fellows all over John Cadman Jr. There is Terry Betts in the number 2 car, and the rest of the field going through. But up front, it is Kenny Wilden, your race leader. Through turn number 1, Wilden, Cohen, then Spinard, and on the inside, it was Cadman 71 holding off Rob Fellows, and Fellows continues to put the pressure on. I'm not sure how much longer Cadman is going to be able to hold off Fellows. Here they come one more time. So we're watching John Cadman Jr., the Motomaster car here in front. Then Rob Fellows, our reigning champion, number 1 entry, right up on his tailpipe. Jeff Lapsovich, the red car, number 32, putting in another great run in round 2. And just in back of Jeff is Frank Allers and Jeff's brother, Joe Jr. All 5 of those drivers really in contention for this 4th place spot. But for the moment, it is Cadman who leads this group of 5 drivers that are having a great fight for that 4th place position. Kenny Wilden all by himself out in front. Peter Cohen in the white Camaro running in 2nd, then Spinard. And now that 5-way scrap that has been a dandy. Joe Lapsovich Jr. dropping back just a little bit from the drivers ahead of him. But Cadman, who was really being pressured a lap ago by Rob Fellows, opening up about 2, maybe 3 car lengths. Jeff Lapsovich right there in the Tim Horton Mr. Lute car, and now hard braking as they come into the hairpin. Wilden followed by Cohen and Spinard. Now it is Cadman 71 who will lead that group through this right-hand hairpin at the east end of Ile Notre Dame. Today on Infotech, we look at the cars, the Camaros and Firebirds of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series. It's really hard to believe the cars racing in this series are really stock Chevrolet Camaros and Pontiac Firebirds. Ah, yes, specialized paint jobs, obviously. These cars, though, outside of this, remain basically stock. There's a few minor changes, of course. We can gaze into the engine. They're 5-liter, 305 cubic inches, overhead valve V8. Got the tune port fuel injection. You don't play with these, okay? They're sealed. They produce 230 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque, and they're sealed at the factory, as I point out, for equality. The Suntest people, of course, are here to check over the engines just to maintain their equality as far as the race activity is concerned. Our Camaros and Firebirds, they've got the 4-wheel power disc brakes.
All of our series cars run on what are pre-shaved by Goodyear Eagle GT Gatorback tires. All of the components are as supplied by the assembly plant. Now we take the safety net aside, it's been added, and let's have a look at the interior. You'll note pretty well regular interior. We got the regular dash, the radio mounted there, there's heating elements and so on, but look at the safety factors built in as well. The roll cage. Fire extinguisher, you certainly want that handy for any race event. These are the safety race driving seats. Included, of course, the 5-point harness. The radio. This is crucial to maintain contact with your crew. The aerial mounted outside, the connector to your helmet. And of course, our safety driving suit. Fire retardant, obviously, and there's your full package. So, the next time you see a Players Limited GM Motorsport Series Camaro or Firebird, remember, it's the same car available at your local GM dealer.
The battle for the 4th place position continues. John Cadman Jr., number 71, just holding off Rob Fellows, who's closed back up right behind Fellows, the 32 red car of Jeff Lapsovich. But this is the man who has led here since lap 4, Kenny Wilden. Just ahead of Peter Cohen, and now Cohen coming under pressure from Spinard, and that 5-way fight continues for the 4th place position, and Cadman is really having to push his car to the limit and at times beyond to hold off Rob Fellows and the rest of the drivers who are trying to chase him down. Now it is his teammate Richard Spinard who challenges for that 2nd place position. We look at the move here by Spinard as he closes on Cohen.
You know, we've actually, sorry to butt in, Pat. We've seen a lot of this rear-mounted, the wing cam, I guess, on Cohen's car. Finally, we saw it at work there. I've been kind of waiting for this entire race to have a look at Spinard, and interesting view it is. And again, Cohen doing very well. He builds up a lot of smoke, though, when he hits the brakes there, doesn't he? And Spinard has a chance to really not gain too much ground there.
Spinard in that 3rd place position, and we ride along with the 3-time Players Limited GM Motorsport Series champion. Spinard not getting a good drive out of that east hairpin, as Cohen now has stretched out about 6-7 car lengths from Richard Spinard. So Richard may have had just a little bit of a miscue there as they went through that tight east end hairpin. Wilden still running out in front. Cohen, number 99, in 2nd, and now Spinard. Nice job under braking to close it back up. But Kenny Wilden, Jim.
Oh, look at this. He does it again for the 2nd time this year. Kenny Wilden, the mid-race leader, he picks up more of those Goodyear Eagle tires from Goodyear for leading at the halfway mark.
John Cadman Jr., number 71, just ahead of Rob Fellows. This has been a race-long battle involving these drivers. And again, Fellows now all over Cadman. He wants the position. Jeff Lapsovich back there in the 6th place position. Frank Aller still running 7th. Joe Lapsovich is 8th.
And while we continue with your race action, Pat, look at the mid-race field review, starting with Normand Boyer. And of course, we'll lead you through in their order up toward these front runners who are putting on a great show in Montreal.
Kenny Wilden still your race leader. Rob Fellows on the inside of John Cadman Jr. The 2 drivers side by side. You know that was going to be coming. And now Fellows trying to muscle his way around Cadman. There's Wilden, your leader, followed by Cohen in 2nd. Spinard runs 3rd. Cadman holding on to 4th, but just barely. Fellows is all over him. There's the blue flag being shown to the drivers. And now Fellows will tuck in. Lapsovich also turning in a superb drive. He sits in the 6th place position. Then it is Frank Allers and then Joe Lapsovich Jr. Jim, this is some of the best racing we have seen. Great
really
fight.
You know, we're not only glued to what's happening up front here, Pat, but this one is particularly entertaining. And is there going to be a change again as they come up to the corner? Here we no. Actually, they hold in order, and might be wise at this point of the race to just let this sit for a lap or two, Pat, unless they overcook it here.
John Cadman Jr. still holding off Rob Fellows. There's Terry Betts, Fellows' teammate. He runs back in the 9th place position at the moment. And then it is the 88 car of Tony Morris running back in the 10th place position.
Oh, look at this change, Pat. We have got Rob Fellows now up into 4th place as they come out of the corner, and John Cadman Jr. now back of him.
Well, you knew it was only a matter of time before Fellows would take over 4th, but here comes Cadman. He battles right back as they come across the start-finish line into turn 1, but Rob Fellows will turn aside the bid by John Cadman Jr. to take over that 4th place position. So Fellows finally able to grab that 4th place spot. Cadman runs 5th. Jeff Lapsovich is 6th. Then it is the number 12 machine of Frank Allers in 7th, and then Joe Lapsovich Jr. still running at 8th. Terry Betts still being shown in the 9th place spot. But this has been just an incredible battle involving these 5 drivers, but now it is Rob Fellows who runs in the point position among these 5 drivers who are running for that 4th place spot.
Okay, we'll watch him one more. I still can't get over how aggressive this number 32 driver is, young Jeff Lapsovich, for this new race season. It's like a whole new man. In fact, on those last passes, he was poking his nose in there where I don't think he would ever have experienced that sort of aggression in the past. And get back to our race leaders now. Well, actually, let's pick up on this again, Pat. This is fun.
Rob Fellows holding out of that 4th place position. Cadman parked right behind him in 5th.
After 12 laps, still Kenny Wilden out front, by the way, with Peter Cohen on his tailpipe, and then Richard Spenard. Rob Fellows will return. Welcome back to a wild round 2 of the Eastern Division of our Players Limited TM Motorsport Series from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. There's the race leader, Kenny Wilden.
Well, Jim, a different racetrack, but the same story. Kenny Wilden running out in front here at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit as he did at Montreal. But behind him, we are seeing some incredible racing. Peter Cohen, number 99, now has Richard Spenard parked on his rear bumper. Spenard and Cohen just a couple of car lengths separating that pair. Of course, Peter Cohen will be the crowd favorite here in Montreal. He is from Montreal and has a lot of people cheering him on, and in fact has turned in a superb drive himself, but not close enough to Kenny Wilden at this point to make any kind of a challenge for the lead. That is the race for second, Cohen, and then Spenard, who holds on to the 3rd place spot. In back of these front-running 3 drivers, we've been watching the great race for 4th involving Rob Fellows and John Cadman Jr. There goes your front-running 3 drivers going through. Wilden, number 17, in the Pringle Slick 50 Camaro, and there is both Cohen and Spenard. Some smoke from the tires as they really got onto the brakes late as they head down this long straightaway section for the East End hairpin. But right now, Spenard's starting to really put the pressure on Peter Cohen.
No question, this young man, Kenny Wilden, is showing a great year, but he's got great sponsorship, Pringles. Look at our 2nd place man. Here is an example of the young privateer, a young man who, in fact, was not able to join us in the first event of Mosport. We're getting a view now of Cohen from Richard Spenard's car, another well-financed and well-put-together team. Cohen, you've got to admire a little bit, I guess, Pat, because he really did not have the financing. This race, in fact, for him was a last-minute little thing that he managed to put together. It's very minimal financing. If he does well here, we may see him again this year. If he doesn't do well, this young man who's now running 2nd may not be back.
Well, Cohen, an interesting driver, as you said, Jim, may not have the finances and the sponsorship behind him to run the entire series. As you said, he missed the opener, but right here in Montreal, I think he wants to prove to a lot of people that he is deserving of a drive with one of the top teams, and he may be earning it right now. He was able to get a better drive out of the hairpins. Bernard seems to be able to close on Cohen under braking, but then Cohen is getting a pretty good drive off of all of these corners and is able to stay ahead of Spenard as he does right now. But Richard tucked right in back of that white number 99 Camaro, and it may be only a matter of time before Spenard is able to push that black. Oh, and there's 34, Joe Lapsovich Jr. spinning the yellow Mr. Lube Camaro around. He had been running up in the 8th place position. That'll drop him back out of the top 10.
Well, he took that one right around, a little 360. Oh, look at this. Now we get back to Rob Fellows, our reigning champion, car number 1. And when is he going to get back up front here? He's running 4th right now. These are the 3 he wants. Now he's in view, Pat.
Well, Rob Fellows had been involved in that 5-way fight for 4th. Now he's been able to break away from Lowe's drivers and runs all by himself in 4th. 71, John Cadman running in the 5th place spot. Moving up to 6th is Frank Allers in the number 12 Motormaster Camaro. There is Allers, the top Western driver out here right now.
Now, today on Kronos, let's learn about the throttle.
The throttle is in the same vein. It's all balance. What you want to do is you don't want to upset the balance of the car, so you have to be real smooth in your throttle control. You don't want to just be pegging the throttle, because again you'll get wheel spin and the car will be unstable. And it's the same sort of thing, nice and smooth, just gradual increasing power, and then clean shifts, and that's the way to do it in these cars.
Throttle input is really connected with the steering input. If you're getting all crossed up and you're steering and having to really work the front end, you won't be able to get on the throttle once you've turned into that corner. From your turn-in point to the middle of the corner is where you have to have the car very much balanced, easing off the brake and getting onto the throttle. And the throttle and the steering can all work together. If you get a little sideways, you may want to just work the wheel, but keep your foot down on the gas. There are other times you may want to lift off the throttle a bit to get the grip on the rear end. So
the car is very delicate. It's very heavy. You have to really treat it with a lot of respect. And if you don't, the car will bite you. And I've been told that if you can drive a Player's GM car fast, you can drive anything fast. So the thing here really is to be smooth and really, really have the car completely under control all the time, because if you lose it, you lose it.
On Kronos, we learned about the throttle, and these are throttles going full tilt right now, Ben.
We're looking at the battle for second place between the white 99 Camaro of Peter Cohen and 42, the driver just in back of him, Richard Spenard. Spenard keeps looking for a way around Cohen, who has managed to hold him off for several laps. Again, both drivers right up on the curbing that time, but I think Cohen went a little bit too far. But Spenard not able to take advantage of the miscue by Cohen as he looks on the inside. No, Cohen will shut the door as Spenard looked for the pass going through the left-hander.
What's interesting is our front three here, Pat, have always had great success, too, in this Montreal circuit or in Quebec. We're looking at Kenny Wilden, who's won here. Peter Cohen, of course, is local. Richard Spenard. I think all three of them want this one rather badly. An interesting point, too, while we're watching young Peter Cohen here at number 99. That was Kenny Wilden's car from last year, and I thought he wrecked that in Halifax, but it's back.
Well, Cohen's crew have rebuilt that car, and certainly they've done a great job because he has been able to match Spenard on the straightaways, and right now holding on to that second place position. It does look as though perhaps Cohen and Spenard have closed up the gap just a little bit on Kenny Wilden as they go through the far east end hairpin. There is Kenny Wilden, your race leader, looking for his second win of the year. 99 Peter Cohen in second, then Spenard, and now we ride on board with Richard Spenard. Cohen appears to get the better drive out of that east end hairpin because time and time again he has pulled 5, 6, maybe 7 car lengths on Spenard after Richard has moved right up on his rear bumper under braking going into the hairpin.
The thing we know too is that Cohen really seems to get a lot of tire smoke here. I'm not sure what that problem might be. I'm sure it's minor. He's not really using the curbing as much as Spenard is, in fact, on this ride at all, Pat.
Well, there you again, you saw it under braking going into that last chicane before the pit straightaway. Spenard was able to close up on Peter Cohen, and now as they brake for turn one, Spenard looking again for the pass on the inside. He won't get it, but he has again closed right back up on Peter Cohen, and there's Spenard looking for the pass on the inside. He moves alongside of Cohen out of that right-hander. Richard Spenard side by side with Peter Cohen, and Spenard now will inch ahead. Will he get second? Yes, he does. Richard Spenard finally able to muscle his way around and take over that second place position. Cohen runs in the third place spot. While these two drivers are going at it, Kenny Wilden, meanwhile, has been able to stretch his lead back out again.
Oh, look at this. Cohen is not giving up as yet, though. I'm noting that Richard Spenard, for about the last couple of laps here at Le Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, has been keeping a very close eye on Cohen. I think he plotted that particular move, pulled it off nicely. Now Cohen says, oh no, Richard, I'm coming back. He tries the inside. He's a lap or two, well, a car length or two back, but he'll settle in. If he's wise, maybe just follow Richard for a moment or two. Trouble is, in the meantime, Rob Fellows is coming on.
Rob Fellows is closed up on both Cohen and Spenard, and as we said, Wilden has picked up perhaps another 5 or 6 car lengths of an advantage than he had earlier. There is Kenny Wilden, followed by the new second-place driver, Richard Spenard, and then Peter Cohen as they go down through the gearbox, hard braking into this east end hairpin. Rob Fellows, number 1, as you said, Jim, has closed up. He is to within about 12 to 15 car lengths, and Rob may yet have a shot at third and perhaps even second place. John Cadman Jr. a long way back now in the 5th place spot, and then it is Frank Allers, the top Western driver, holding on to 6th, and Jeff Lapsovich, followed by Terry Betts, Wade Lee, and then the 88 car of Tony Morris.
I think we have to admit that the Western crowd are really putting in a very nice run here in Montreal. Today on Profile, we look at the rookies for 1991. In the West, Doug Lorraine. In the East, Jacques Lillière.
Well, I guess it was the first year in the series, so it was the goal I was trying to achieve in the series. We finished all the 5 races. We didn't have a DNF, so it was basically consistency that did it for us, I think.
Doug is a GM dealer himself, and though this series, well, he thought it would let him mix his love of driving and business.
Well, I'm a GM dealer, so I thought I would get into the series through that and kind of promote it in the local community, sell some cars, create some interest for the vehicles. It's definitely done that for the dealership and the shop. As for racing, I've raced for a long time. I've raced Formula Ford, sports races, and I used to do a fair bit of endurance racing. I kind of enjoy doing that, so that's where maybe the consistency comes in. Maybe I'm not the fastest, but I like to finish the races, you know. But the series itself as a vehicle for kind of promotions and building stuff around in business, for the shop, it's been good.
Doug always has time to talk to the younger drivers in this series to pass on advice and learn new things as well. His goals for the series are realistic.
Well, I'd like to finish in the first half anyway. Anywhere up in that area I'd be pretty happy with. Between 10 and 15 would be great for us, I would say, yeah.
Good luck, Doug. Our Eastern rookie champion, Jacques Lillière, an experienced sedan racer, led the attack for the title against his friends, Normand Boyer and Didier Scronin, the so-called French connection. A popular champion, Jacques' highlight of 91 was his 2nd place in the 91 shootout at Montreal.
We look at the battle for 7th. Jeff Lapsovich turning in another superb drive here in Montreal after a great run at Mosport for the opener. Lapsovich holding that 7th place position. Right in back of him, Terry Betts in 8th. And then it is another one of our top Western drivers, Wade Lee, in the STP Camaro, running in the 9th place spot. Those 3 drivers tied together, and just a little bit of a gap back to the 10th place man, and that is Tony Morris. But that race for 7 continues very close. Lapsovich, you can see, about 15, maybe 20 car lengths back of the 6th place driver just ahead of him, and that is Frank Allers.
Oh, look at this now. Wade Lee is, in fact, having a look, and our Western competitor says, oh, sorry, Terry, I'm going to take you. Terry says, oh, no, not yet.
Let me close that door, and Terry Betts does. Wade Lee will have to tuck in, and he will follow the Sunoco Ultra 94 driver, Terry Betts, down the straightaway as they head to the east end hairpin. Again, here comes Wade Lee. He'll give it another go under braking, and this time the Western driver Wade Lee is able to put that bright orange and blue STP Camaro up into the 8th place position. Betts trying to battle back, but we have seen some great racing, Jim, all the way through the top 10 throughout this race.
You know, this may make the other Motormaster man a little hungry as well. We got to keep an eye on Tony Morris. Now, let's have a look here at our race leader one more time. Here's Kenny Wilden. He looks fine out front, man.
Kenny Wilden enjoying a comfortable lead over Richard Spenard. And a driver off the track. That's Wade Lee into the sand trap. Number 79, Wade Lee, who had just taken over that 8th place position, but running off the racetrack. He'll get back on, but that'll drop him out of the top 10. Here's your race leader, Kenny Wilden. There you can see the gap back to Spenard in 2nd. 99 now, Peter Cohen will come under pressure from Rob Fellows, and Rob really has done a marvelous job of getting back up through the field after running off the racetrack off the start.
Well, the thought would be then that maybe Peter Cohen has overdone it with his brakes, or it could be, in fact, that the rubber is going away on him here. He may have been a little too aggressive off the top. I know other competitors have said in the past on this course in Montreal, you want to be a little cool off the top, Pat, because your car will begin to drift away toward the end of the event if you don't watch it and pace it properly.
Kenny Wilden into the hairpin, enjoying a big lead over Richard Spenard. Look at Rob Fellows, late braking. He will pull up alongside of Cohen, who runs a little bit wide out of that hairpin, but no, Cohen will hang on to that third place spot. Rob Fellows parked right on his rear bumper, though, and it may be only a matter of time here now, Jim, before Fellows is able to move up and take over that third place position. But I think Peter Cohen has made his point here in Montreal. He is one of the top drivers in this series, and maybe deserving, as you said a little earlier, of one of the top drives with the team that will allow him to run a very, very competitive car at each one of our events.
You know, he seems okay in the straightaway situation, but when you get back to those corners, and again, Rob is kind of sizing up here, I think he's about to attack Cohen one more time. We'll be back for that attack right after this break. Welcome back. We're into the final laps of TSN's coverage of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series event from Le Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, and what a race. Not necessarily happening up front either, Ben.
This is the race for third between Peter Cohen, number 99, who led early, and number 1, Rob Fellows, who's really charged back after some problems off the start. Cohen holding on to that third place position. Fellows has closed to within at times half a car length, but Cohen has turned aside the bid by Fellows to take over that third place spot. He just continues to battle right around the racetrack. We look at the leader, Kenny Wilden, in that red number 17. Pringle Slick 50 Camaro. He has just been superb, and I think we're looking at Kenny Wilden, who has really moved up a notch in terms of his driving. Definitely driving with a lot more confidence and a lot more skill than he did a year ago in the series when he had some great finishes, but he also had some bitter disappointments last year. But Kenny Wilden right now showing that he may be the man to beat this year. Spenard, 42, running in second. And now that race for third between Cohen, 33, and Rob Fellows, number 1. Fellows has closed back up on Cohen. That race for third has been going back and forth. Fellows has closed time and time again. But then, Jim, Cohen's been able to get back away. And right now, Rob looks like he has moved back in for another pass attempt for that third place spot.
Again, let's go back to the start of this event in Montreal. It really did appear with Kenny Wilden at that time, the adrenaline was a little in overflow. What he has done since, oh, look at this. We got a big mistake from Mr. Cohen. Just blew it away today.
Peter Cohen looping the car around, big spin. That is going to cost him third place and perhaps fourth. Here's your leader, Kenny Wilden. He has not even gotten close to that kind of a mistake other than the early part of this race where Wilden and Spenard collided in the last chicane. Both drivers were able to recover, and right now they run 1-2 on the racetrack. Wilden maybe trying to ease off just a little bit here. He knows he's got a big cushion to play with, and as he comes into the hairpin, we're winding it down here in Montreal. Spenard has made up a little bit of ground, but Wilden still has a lot of racetrack to work with. There is Richard Spenard running in that second place position. And then we've got a big gap back to the third place driver, Rob Fellows. And then, of course, 99, Peter Cohen, who I believe now has dropped back into the fifth place spot.
You know, Peter is going to be so hurt he is not going to make the podium here in Montreal. Isn't that a shame? The point I was making with Kenny Wilden here, our race leader, is he looked a little frantic off the top of it all, but once he began to focus, in fact, what's interesting is once he got in front, then the man just became so smooth on this circuit. Okay, one exception there.
Checkered flag about to come out here at start finish. There is Kenny Wilden as he comes to the line. Kenny Wilden has won round number 2 of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series. There is Spenard in second. Fellows will get third, and I believe Cadman will finish ahead of Cohen.
Okay, let's look at that top 5 as you listed one more time, Pat. Second win for Kenny Wilden, and our second 5 interesting as well.
Frank Allers, the top Western driver, coming home in 6th. It's Terry Bett, 7th. Another one of the Western contingent, Tony Morris, followed by Jacques Liliev and Jeff Lapsevich.
Well, already in 1992, we've seen a lot of this young man, and the same crew back to greet him once more. And by the way, congratulations to our GM Parts Hard Charger Award winner. Wade Lee out of Calgary grabs that in Montreal.
I was really taking it easy on the brakes, and when I felt they were gaining, I just go in a little deeper and then pull out, and I just stayed calm and only checked my mirror a couple times each lap to judge where they were. But I didn't think Richard would have it simply because he ran behind Cohen for so long, and the brakes would be hot and his engine would be hot, and using the tires just to get past Cohen. So I didn't think he'd catch me as long as I didn't make a mistake.
Don't forget to join us next week for round 3 of our coverage of the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series from Calgary's Race City Speedway.
There's the excitement. It's about to happen. Whoops. Kenny Wilden reaching for the champagne one more time. Rob Fellows and Richard Spernard, though, prepared to fight back. But what a great start at 92 for Kenny Wilden. Second win in a row, this time Montreal. The Players Limited GM Motorsports Series on TSN. The Players Limited GM Motorsports Series is brought to you by Players Limited and GM Motorsports.